Good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Today, we're going to be taking a very quick look at the Hermes agent, and we're going to be going over everything that you need to know to actually get it running in a VPS and actually use it. Because I've seen a lot of tutorials that don't really show you how to get it to be actually useful. So, what we're going to be doing today is, first of all, we're going to be taking a look at what is Hermes agent and a very high overview of its architecture. We're also going to be taking a look at how to install it on a VPS, and we're going to do that in a different way. So we're going to have Cloud Code or Codex or Pi or whichever agent you're using for coding install it itself without you having to set up the entire VPS yourself. So the idea is that you're going to run Codex or Cloud Code, and you're going to have it run this skill that you have right here. It is already linked in the description if you just want to take the script and take it over there. And this skill is going to set up everything that you need in order to set up your VPS securely to use your AI agents over there. After that, we're going to be taking a look at how to install different model providers. We're going to see how to connect to this AI agent through Telegram, how to make it usable, how to brain dump your workflow so that this agent can actually help you in real time. And we're also going to be taking a look at this nice little dashboard right here and how to get it running in the VPS. So this dashboard right here is actually running in my VPS, and here I can take a look at my models, my sessions, my logs, my cron jobs, my scales, my plugins, etc. And I can just manage everything through here. And of course, it is secured in my VPS. So without any further ado, let's actually get right into it. All right, so first of all, what is the Hermes agent? And it's very straightforward. It is this kind of self-improving AI agent that is meant to be always on. So usually I see people running it in their machines, but what you really want to do is to run it either on a VPS or on your home server so that it is always on and you can access it from whenever you want. So it comes with multiple ways to talk to it. For example, you can talk to it on Telegram, for example, and you can take a look at all of the messaging platforms right here. You can talk to it on Discord, on Slack, WhatsApp, etc. And it is always on. And it also comes with very useful integrations in the sense, in the shape of skills, which are kind of connectors to your usual workflow. So for example, if you're into finance, or for example, something that I find even more useful is the productivity ones. So you go to productivity and you can see that it can handle your Notion workspace and you can edit it. You can create PowerPoint presentation for you, admin your Shopify shops, etc. So it comes with a lot of different integrations and it's always on. So it works kind of like a PA that you can talk to through your Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, etc., rather than a coding assistant that is only working while you're actually in the computer, okay? So this is the main idea of the whole thing. And just to give you a high-level overview of what is actually happening behind the scenes, this AI agent is actually running continuously in your server, and whenever you send a message to it, it does pretty much every single time the same thing. So it receives a message and then it builds a system prompt specifically for that thread. In that system prompt, it's going to put the tools that you have available, the skills, the current memory that it has about you, the project context, and the platform context. And all of that is going to go into a new thread that is going to go into the language model. Then the language model is going to reason, think about it. Either it's going to call a new tool and go back to the language model until it gets the response and then send back the response to the user, just like a regular React loop. And then once that is done, it is going to update its own memory. If, for example, you sent it a message including information about how you like to work or information about your workflow, then it's going to add that to your memory. And then for future conversations, it is already known to know that new memory because it will be in its system prompt right here, okay? And usually when you talk with it in, for example, Telegram, you will be talking in the same conversation every single time unless you ask it to manually restart the thread. Okay, so there you go. That is basically what is going to be happening when you send a message to your new PA Hermes. So let's actually take a look at how to install it on a VPS. All right, so in order to run your AI Hermes agent, you're going to have a server. And in this case, we're going to be using Hetzner for it. This is not the only option. I have in the past used things like, for example, OVH, which is pretty good and also pretty affordable. I have used DigitalOcean, which is pretty good, a bit more expensive though. Still very affordable though. But Hetzner, I feel like it is very affordable, and at the same time, it has a very good developer experience. So I'm going to be testing it right here for you. Um, as you can see, they have plans of VPS starting from €5 a month, which is basically nothing. And this is more than enough to run a Hermes agent and maybe even an OpenClaw agent in it as well. Just to be clear, we are not talking about hosting the models yourself, just the agent. The model is going to be running on third-party inference providers. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this one right here. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is you're going to want to create an account. And I have already created my account in my case, so you're just going to have to log in right here. And once you're in, this is likely going to be empty if you have not ever used Hetzner before. I already have my default project right here with one server. But what we're going to want to do right now is we're going to want to create a new server right here. And ideally, you want to use a cost-optimized one if they're available, because of course, this is the one that is going to get you to €5 per month. So I'm just going to select this one. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM, 40 gigabytes of storage, and 20 terabytes of traffic, which should be more than enough. And just to be clear, you're going to be charged per hour with a maximum of this right here. So if you disable your server, for example, at the day 15 of the month, you're only going to be charged half of this, okay? So you're even more affordable just to try it out. Just select a location, going to select this one right here, Ubuntu, of course. We want to have IPv4 and IPv6. And for your SSH keys, it's going to be very straightforward. Just create your SSH keys. In my case, I have already created them. If you have not, just go right here, create your SSH keys, go to your terminal, and just say SSH keygen with this inscription right here. Comment it with whatever you wanted, just to make sure that I'd be able to identify this SSH key in the future, and then just save it as whatever file you want inside your .ssh directory. So in my case, I just saved it as Hetzner VPS key, but you can just give it whatever name you want. So for example, my key or something like that, okay? Once you have done that, it is going to give you a .pub and a regular SSH key. So the .pub is the one that you're going to want to copy and paste right here. And for cloud config, this part is going to be a little bit more important. What's going to happen is that you're going to want to paste this configuration that I'm going to be leaving in the description right here so that you can just use it. And my name is going to be Alejandro. The groups can be sudo. I'm just going to leave it at sudo. Shell, bin bash. And in order to set up your SSH authorized keys that your user is going to be able to connect with, you're going to have to click right here. And instead of this, your public key right here, we're going to go to my terminal and you're going to go right here to your .ssh directory. And right here, you're just going to cat your Hetzner public key. So I'm just going to do like this. I'm going to do pb copy to copy to my clipboard. And now it is in my clipboard, so I'm going to go right here and paste it. Here I have some prefix, and there you go. Package update set to true. The packages that are going to come with this installation are going to be curl, git, ufw, and fail to ban. And then on install, you're going to run ufw allow OpenSSH and ufw force enable. And just give it a name. We're going to be calling it demo Hermes video. And there you go. Now, as you can see, it's going to be €5 per month. So I'm just going to create it and buy it. And there you go. So here it is running. It's creating. It just takes a few seconds. And there you go. My server is up and running. And here I have the IP. So now if I want to connect to it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect. I'm going to copy this API key. I'm going to go back to my terminal. And right here, I'm going to do SSH-I to indicate where my keys are. And my keys are, of course, in my .ssh directory in the Hetzner key that I previously created. And my username, if you remember correctly, I said that it was going to be Alejandro at this this IP address. I'm going to hit enter. And there you go. So now I am inside my demo Hermes server. So as you can see, here it is. I am my home Alejandro. And who am I? I am Alejandro. And now that the VPS is enabled and we are in it, we can actually start setting it up. So let's do that. All right, so now I'm in right here, and the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to install Pi, just because I think that it's the most straightforward way to install an agent in a just completely new VPS. And I'm going to have Pi set, Pi with codecs set up my entire VPS. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Let me just get back to you once the whole installation is done. It's literally just running this command right here from pi.dev and waiting for the installation to finish. And there we go. First, it installed Node. Now we're going to install Pi. Gonna say yes, and there you go. Now Pi is enabled right here. Oops, it's not found, so I'm going to have to just source my bash rc, and now Pi should be in there. And there we go. So no models available yet, so I'm going to have to just log in. And in this case, I'm going to use my ChatGPT subscription. It's going to copy this URL right here. Just going to click right here on continue once I pasted that right here. And now this URL is the one that I'm going to paste right here. And there we go. Now I am logged in. And then something else that you kind of want to do after you're logged in is to give Pi access to the web in case you wanted to research something at the same time as it is setting us up your VPS. And in that case, remember that Pi does not come with web access. It is a completely minimalist agent. So that is probably the only thing that I would encourage you to install. In my case, I'm just going to install this one, although I usually code my own skills with Firecrawl because I really like Firecrawl. But in this case, let's just use it like this. So I'm just going to get out of Pi, just going to paste Pi install Pi web access. And there you go. Now Pi has access to the web. All right, and once that is done, as you can see right here, I already have my Pi web access extension right here. And what I want to do right now is I'm going to go right here to the skill that I was telling you about, so which is this one right here. And I can either give Pi the URL, although I think it's probably easier to just copy the raw file and paste it right here like this, telling it, help me set up this new VPS. Current user has sudo privileges. And then just paste my entire skill right here. So let's just hit enter, and it should do everything that I wanted to do to set up the whole thing. So let's say, oh, I mistakenly set and left it on medium. I usually actually use GPT 5.5 on low or no reasoning because it is just so smart that it usually does not really need the medium thinking. But let's see what is going on right here. So inspection looks good. Ubuntu, current user Alejandro has sudo privileges. SSH is active on port 22 already. Next, it's going to update the packages and install the baseline security admin with git, curl, and tmux and the firewall. So just to give you a very quick overview of what's going on right here and what my codex is right here setting up. First of all, the entire thing, first it inspects the VPS. So it figures out who I am, what VPS we're running, what OS we're running, as you just saw, and then it's going to secure the entire VPS. In order to do that, it is going to update the packages, install some basic tools, configure the firewall, and allow SSH, HTTP, and HTTPS only if needed. In our case, we are going to need it because we're going to be hosting our dashboard in this VPS. It's going to enable fail to ban, which is very important to save you from brute force attacks. We're going to disable root SSH login, very important as well for your VPS, whether it is for your agent or whether you're hosting a web application. Disable password SSH login only after confirming that the SSH keys work. So the SSH keys that I have added already work. So it's probably going to remove the password login so that, again, we do not have that brute force attack problem, and then just going to set the whole thing. Then it's going to install the runtime dependencies because remember that this kind of agents require to run as a permanent service in your VPS. So it's just going to install the dependencies for that. It installs Docker, Compose, Node, FFmpeg, and some browser dependencies to be able to browse the web. And then something else that it does is that it creates a user specifically for the agents called agent user, as you can see right here. And it also creates a home. So for this user, for this new user called agent user. And it creates for Hermes a .hermes directory where the Hermes installation is going to live. And if you later want to install, for example, OpenClaw, this same skill is going to, instead of installing a Hermes, it is going to install .openclaw and install OpenClaw right there. And then after that, it just prompts you to run the Hermes setup wizard. So let's see. The phase 2 baseline is done. It installed all of these things that I told you. It allowed the firewall like this and the SSH hardening. I found an SSH authorized key for Alejandro, so I should be safe to disable password SSH login. This reduces brute force risk, as I told you, but if your SSH key does not work from your own machine, it could lock you out. Please confirm, are you currently logged in using an SSH key, and should I disable SSH password login? If you followed the tutorial as we have been doing right here, there should be no problem. So yes, I have SSH access. Go on. So now it's going to continue, and then after that, it's going to, in a moment, we're going to set up the Hermes setup wizard, and once that is done, we're going to it's going to set up Hermes Gateway as a system service. So in other words, it is going to be able to run the Telegram service that is going to listen every time for my messages to come in. And then finally, it is going to protect the dashboard with a nice password so that we can just connect to it directly just by going to my IP address of my server. And that's basically everything that this skill is doing. You can literally just copy this and paste it into your agent, and it is going to do everything for you. So there we go. It says that Hermes installed successfully as agent user. Next, I'm using Playwright Chromium for Hermes browser tools. And this is pretty important. Remember that Hermes actually comes with a lot of things out of the box. Probably not my favorite setup because I really like minimalist agents. And Hermes, in case you did not see this before, let me just show it to you right here. If we go right here to Hermes, which is right here. So in the Hermes page, you go to documentation and then you go to skills, and you can see that it comes with 90 skills built in, and it actually comes with about 25 tools built in as well. So all of that is added to the context of your system from the start, even from the first session. So that's probably a lot, but let's see. So there you go. Hermes is installed and healthy enough to configure. It installed add home agent user.hermes. The code is inside Hermes agent. So of course Hermes can update itself and modify itself because the code is running directly from within it. The CLI binary and the version. So Hermes Doctor shows expected pre-setup warnings such as missing Telegram or Discord messaging. And the next step is the interactive Hermes setup wizard. This needs a real terminal, so please run this from my SSH. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this command right here, like that. All right, so what I did is I opened a new terminal right here and I pasted my command right here. Now, I was having trouble with Ghosty because my VPS does not support Ghosty terminal for some reason, but just connect with your regular terminal if you're having those troubles. And I'm just going to run this command, which basically just switches the user to agent user, which is the user that installed Hermes, and then goes right there to the Hermes installation, runs the binary, and runs the setup command. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to select full setup. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is select an inference provider. So you can select, for example, OpenRouter. You can select Anthropic API keys. You can select your OpenAI Codex subscription, for example. In my case, I'm going to be running this directly with Hugging Face inference providers. And in order to do that, I'm just going to go right here. I'm going to go to Hugging Face. I'm going to go to my account. I'm going to go to create a new access token. And I am just going to create a new token right here, like call it temp, and we're going to give it access. Very important to give it access to make calls to inference providers in order for it to actually be able to call your models. It's going to click on create, copy my API key, paste it right here. And the base URL is router.huggingface.co v1. That is correct. I'm just going to hit enter. And I'm going to select Minimax 2.7 because that's pretty affordable and it's also very, very good. Now, it asks me if I want a SAM provider, fallback, or rotation kind of thing, just in case my tokens I exhaust my tokens on this first provider, and in case I don't want to like break any thinking process of my agent or anything. I'm just going to say no for now. I don't need this right now, but if you really want it, you can add another API key from another provider just as a fallback. For text-to-speech, I'm just going to keep current edge. If you have a subscription to, for example, 11 Labs, that is going to make your personal assistant talk in a much more premium quality way, and it's going to sound just like a human, which is great. In my case, I'm just going to leave it like that. In select terminal backend, so you can either keep local or select something else. In this case, since we have already set up the whole thing with Pi, you don't really need to run it in Docker or SSH because we have pretty much containerized the whole thing with the user in the VPS installation. So we're just going to keep current as local, maximum iteration. So that is the number of loops that you want your agent to go into: calling a tool, getting back the result, calling a tool, getting back the result. And the default is 60, and you can set it to whatever you want. In my case, I think 90 is probably better. It enables more complex workflows, and at the same time, it does not let your agent go into infinite loops that are going to just eat away your tokens. So I'm just going to set it like to 90 there, right there, and tool progress mode. Now, this basically means how much it asks you how much you want to see of your agent when it's calling different tools. Do you want to see every single tool call? So if it calls 90 tools, you want to have 90 different messages for the 90 tools? Or do you want to not show any tools, for example, or just show whenever a new tool is called? In my case, I prefer to use new, just like that. So if it uses the web search 10 times, I'm just going to see that one time, okay? And this one right here is very important. So it's context compression. Hermes auto compresses once it reaches a certain context window percentage. In this case, they suggest that you select around 50% of the context window. It really depends on the model that you selected. So since I myself selected Minimax 2.7 and it has a rather small context window, which is about 200,000 tokens, I'm just going to set it at 0.90. But if you have a model that has a much larger context window, you can set this to 0.5 or even less if it's like a million token context window, okay? And for the session reset mode, session basically means how often do you want it to restart its conversation thread. In this case, it is going to either restart it when we don't talk to it for a while or every single day. And I think that is pretty straightforward and probably the best setup, because anyways, your agent is going to have that context of your previous conversations, of your previous sessions. So this should be good enough. In activity timeout, we can go back right here to the recommendations from Codex. It says that we set it to 1440, just like it is the default. Daily reset hour, and in your local hours. So when do you want your reset session to happen? In my case, 4 a.m. is pretty good because I'm rarely working at 4 a.m. And then it asks you to configure your Telegram or whichever messaging platform that you want. You can just hit enter if you do not really want to configure a messaging platform. But in my case, I just hit enter because we're going to be doing that later. And for tools right here, we're going to go to select which tools we want. So web search, we do want it. Browser automation, we want it. Terminal and processes, of course. File operations, code execution, vision and image only if you want it. In my case, I don't really want it or need it. I don't really need image generation either. Text to speech, sure, why not? Skills and tasks, memory, session search, clarifying questions, also quite good. That basically means that you're going to be able to select from multiple choice questions that the agent may have for you for any given job. Task delegation basically means sub-agents. Cron jobs, we do want cron jobs. That's going to let us run automations every day or every week, for example. Cross-platform messaging, and that's basically all. So I'm just going to hit enter. For a provider, we're going to use local Chromium because we already have it installed. That is basically what Codex did just a moment ago. Just going to hit enter. For text-to-speech, if you have 11 labs, again, use 11 labs, but in my case, I'm just going to stick to this regular one. And for search provider, you can host your own version of Firecrawl, but it's a little bit more complicated because it requires you to set up your Docker environment. I mean, your agent is going to do it, but I still recommend using another one. If you do not really want to pay for Exa, for example, or Firecrawl, then yeah, just host your own Firecrawl. In my case, I do have a Firecrawl account, so I'm just going to copy my API key right here. Just be right back in a moment. I'm going to paste my API key right here, and there we go. So now my Hermes is completely set up. So setup is done. The gateway, I haven't done it already. I'm going to show you that in just a moment, but there we go. So we have, yeah, let's now do the Telegram thing. All right, so the next thing to do is we're going to have to set up the messaging platforms. And there are, of course, many different ones. I invite you to take a look at all of this to see which one you actually want to use. The most popular one is Telegram because it just makes it very easy to set up. Discord's also pretty good. Slack, WhatsApp. You can also send emails to your Hermes assistant. In this case, we're just going to set up Telegram, and it's very, very straightforward, as you're going to see. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to go right here to your terminal, and you're going to do Hermes Setup Gateway. And that basically means that you're going to set up the message gateway. Sorry, I forgot that if you're going to be running Hermes commands right away like this, remember that right here, I am, who am I? I'm Alejandro. And remember that the Hermes agent is set up under the agent user. So I'm just going to copy this thing right here, sudo to use that user. So just change to agent user and just use this thing right here. And I'm going to say setup gateway, just like that. And let's take a look. So we're going to say tap spacebar to select Telegram, hit enter, and here it's going to ask us for our Telegram bot token. So we're going to go right here to Telegram. You're going to search for bot father, and it should be this account right here. You're going to select it and go right into it. You're going to hit /new bot like that. And it says, all right, we're going to create a new bot for you. What are we going to call it? Let's call it Bobby. All right, good. And now we should create a username for this robot. Let's call it Bobby, and it should end it in bot. And this one should be unique, so I'm just going to add some random characters in between. And there we go. So now this is my token. Just going to click right here to copy it, go back right here. Just going to paste it right here. And now which user am I supposed to allow to connect to this bot? Because if I just leave it like this, anyone's going to be able to connect to my Hermes agent, which probably I don't want, because also, of course, my Hermes agent is going to deal with my personal workflows and probably also my personal information. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to look for this user info bot. And it's very straightforward. As you can see right here, it's just user info bot like this. I'm just going to leave this in the description as well. But if you search for user info bot, you're going to find it. And right here, you just click /start, and it's going to give you your ID. Same thing, just going to copy it right here. It's going to paste it. And then it asks me if I want to use my ID as the home channel. I just want to say yes, because of course, this is going to be my main means of conversation with my AI agent. Install the gateway as a system service, which runs in the background. And if at some point you have any question about the process of setting this up, just go back and ask Codex or whichever coding assistant you're using, because basically it knows all of your setup. So you can just come right here and ask it. You can just paste this right here. What should I select? And then as you can see right here, it says that we should select system service. So we just go right here, select system service, and there we go. And now that all is done, let's just go back to my Pi agent and ask it if everything is running correctly. I finished the setup. Is all okay. And since it knows exactly how my setup is done, it is going to figure out if I made any mistakes during the setup and fix them in case there are any issues. And there we go, it finished. It says, yes, the core setup is okay now, current good state, Hermes installed, blah, blah, blah. There are still optional warnings such as open router not configured, Discord and Spotify not configured, which should be okay. So let's just go to Telegram and send start. So I'm going to go right here to bot father and to the bot that I initialized. I'm going to click on start. And there you go. So we should be able to start. Let's ask it, who are you? And there you go. Now you can basically just chat with your AI agent from your phone, and it will be completely available for you since it is in the VPS in the cloud. So your computer can be off, and your Hermes agent is going to continue working because it is working in the cloud. Okay. So there you go. That is how to set up Telegram. All right, so what I want to show you right now is how you can basically just brain dump your entire workflow or things that you think that this agent might be helpful for, and just send them to your AI agent like that to Hermes, and Hermes will let you know what it can do for you. So in this example, I just said, I'm going to tell you a few things about my workflows. So can you tell me where you can help me out and how we can work together? And feel free to pause the video if you want to read through my workflow. But the idea right here is that my Hermes agent was able to suggest a few things that it can do for me. So let me just show that to you. For example, this was its response. So it was not able to fetch the actual GitHub repo because it is private, so I had to give it some keys later on. But just to give you a clear idea, it suggested how to use Hermes to help me with my video production pipeline, for example, or also for my quick side project scaffolding ideas. If ever I have an idea for a web application, I have just Hermes build it, for example, or just general research. You can do that setting up cron jobs, and that's actually what I'm going to show you in just a moment. But basically, just dump your workflow into Hermes and ask it what it can do for you. You'd be surprised by how creative it is, and just start exploring from there. I think that it is actually a pretty interesting way to approach this new technology. So now that that is done, let's actually take a look at cron jobs and how they work. Okay, so here we're back at the Telegram session with the bot that I just created, which is connected to my Hermes agent. And just for the record, I could be doing this from the phone with my computer completely off. Okay, so that is the cool part about this. And I'm going to paste this prompt right here. So let's see. I asked it, create a cron automation that runs every 3 days. On each run, research developments for the past 3 to 5 days in AI research and product launches, open source AI models, etc. Identify tutorial ideas, and for each run, produce a concise summary, 5 to 10 tutorial ideas, and for each tutorial idea, add this information, prioritize ideas that are hands-on, reproducible, open source, friendly, and likely to perform well with the Hugging Face community. And the schedule should run every 3 days. And there you go. So it has created the cron job, and here I have the ID, which is live, scheduled to run every 3 days. It does on each run what I asked it to do, research on archive, Hugging Face trending, dev tooling, and the output should go to my Telegram DM. And then it should work correctly. So it's asking me if I want to run it once now so that it can see the output before the first schedule tick. I'll say yes, and let's see what it can do for me. And there we go, it finished and it created a few tutorial ideas for me. And here we go, I have also the sources, and it's sent in multiple messages. As you can see, it took about 4 minutes. And here it goes. I mean, and I will be receiving this every 3 days now. Now let me show you how to manage this in the dashboard of your Hermes agent. All right, so in order to make sure that everything is running correctly and that my dashboard is actually live, just let me go back right here to Pi, because remember that this is just a complete new setup in my server, and my Pi session has all the context about how this was set up. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to ask it if the Hermes dashboard is already available and reachable. And of course, I am running this in the same conversation under the same thread that configured the entire VPS, so it knows everything about my local configuration. So let's see. It says, no, the Hermes dashboard is not currently available or reachable. What I found is that the service exits and is running. However, no dashboard is running. So let's just ask it to set it up. So I said, no, I don't want a custom domain. Just start a service according to the skill I shared above and secure it. So let's take a look at it. And again, just for the record, all of these instructions on how to set this up are already in the skill that I shared with you at the beginning. So you do not have to be very specific about how it should set up the service for your dashboard. It will already know how to set it up, okay? And of course, you could kind of use Hermes to do this, but since Hermes is completely new and it doesn't really know much about DOS, and it doesn't really know much about how we set up the VPS and the configuration where it lives in, I feel like it's better to just use an agent that you already trust and that has the context of your entire setup. But in the future, you could definitely do these things with Hermes once you get more comfortable with it and once it gets to know better the environment in which it lives. And there you go. It finished the whole thing. It says, yes, the Hermes dashboard is now available and secured. Reach it here. And the expected browser behavior is you will see a warning, blah, blah, blah. And we should just be able to access it right here. So like that, gave us the warning that it said, and it asks us for a username and password just like we said it would. So let's just ask it, what is the password? And here we go. So let's just open it, Hermes, and the password is this one. And there we go. So now we are in my Hermes agent dashboard. As you can see right here, I have one connected platform, which is Telegram, which we set up together just a moment ago. As you can see, I have two sessions right here. One is a cron job and another one is the one that I have running on Telegram. The models that I have available is my main model, which is running through Hugging Face inference providers with Minimax M2.7, but of course, feel free to choose any model that you want. Let's take a look at also the logs. Right here we have the logs of my Hermes agent so that we can debug it and make sure that everything's running correctly. Here I have my cron jobs, and as you can see, I have my scheduled job, which is AI development tutorial ideas, which is scheduled. And as you can see right here, it is running correctly. You're an AI research analyst running autonomously. Your job, research recent AI developments, Jara, Jara, Jara. And here I can just trigger now, I can delete it, or I can pause it, which is great. And I can also, if I wanted, I could create my own cron jobs right here without having to ask my AI agent to do it. I just prefer to ask Hermes to do it because it knows how to do it, and it can also be a bit more descriptive or expand on my prompt. Here we have the skills that we have available. So as you can see, we have already a lot of them that are available. And right here in my case, I have 85 skills available, and I have 26 tool sets available, which are actually active. So I have web extract, browser automation, terminal and processes, etc. So a bunch of different tools and skills. Again, I've told you that this is not my personal preference. I would actually prefer that we have almost no tools and I choose the ones that I add gradually, but that's just me talking as a fan of Pi. Then we have the plugins that we have available right here, the profiles that we have available, my configuration. As you can see, my default model that I have, my model context length that I got. Zero automatically detects the context model from the metadata. And you have a bunch of other different configuration setups right here. Same thing for my keys. As you can see, I have only one key set, which is the Hugging Face key, which is the one that I showed you just a moment ago. And I actually have access to the documentation, but this is basically just an iframe with the website of the Hermes documentation. You can just use it. In future videos, I can show you how to use the Kanban if you're interested. It is basically how to orchestrate multiple tasks in your Hermes agent. It is kind of an experimental tool, but very fun. And if you're building your own agent, it is probably something also that you want to set up. So there you go. Amazing. I think that we have pretty much covered everything that I wanted to show you. Let me know if you want to have a deep dive on the Kanban and the tool orchestration for sub-agents for Hermes. I could do a follow-up video about it. I could make more videos about how to run Hermes Agent on already managed cloud services, because right here we are hosting it ourselves in our VPS. But you could, of course, just deploy it directly on Minimax or Kimi. They really just allow you to deploy the agent in a single click, and it works perfectly. Probably going to make a video about it later. But thank you very much for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you in the next one.